Hi everybody, welcome to Resolve the Unsolved Forum by Panacea eBiz Consulting Group. In fact, this is our 44th webinar, right Mr. Goel?
That's very true.
So we have come a long way as we have been consistently throughout the pandemic have been interacting with the business community across the country and outside also on various aspects and key, I won't say concern, but key focus areas concerning small and large businesses across sectors. While doing so, today, most of the subject on which we get to discuss are the ones which have been identified or suggested by entrepreneurs or business entities as they go through our sessions and videos which are uploaded on the YouTube. A very important and a pertinent subject, I would say, has been inventory. And as we have been talking about this a couple of minutes back also, most of the time, it has not been a focus area. And even today, a lot of times it has been overlooked. Today, we have a very important topic, role of inventory in modern day supply chain management, or SCM as we call it. So we are going to spend roughly 45 minutes, 50 minutes on this critical subject. Today with me on the panel, I have Mr. Prasenjit Raha. Prasenjit, welcome to the platform. Prasenjit
Thank you.
is a senior consultant and advisor specific to the logistics space. He comes with a rich and diversified experience of 25 plus years with various industries across the sector. He has been associated with corporates like Birla Tires, GI Cycles, Amway, H&R Johnson, Pidilite Industries, to name a few. Professionally, he is a qualified management graduate and also a certified foreign trade and a business analyst. Currently, he is advising and consulting on logistic aspects of various private sector based out of the eastern segment from Kolkata. He is joining us from Kolkata today. Welcome once more, Prasenjit. Along with us today, we have, I would call him now a friend and associate, Mr. Goel. Mr. Goel, welcome once again to the forum.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Mr. Goel, as some of us know, comes with a rich experience of putting in more than 25 years plus in training and facilitating youngsters across various skills through his training skill training centers across the country. Today, he is a tech entrepreneur, takes a lot of interest in advising and consulting not only startups, and is also spending a lot of time engaging with existing operations and business houses in advising them in the future scope of business. Mr. Goel, welcome once again. Perhaps as we start off with the topic, the most fundamental role in supply chain management and fundamental role the inventory plays is very, very crucial in terms of any company's profitability or the bottom line. And typically, if I'm right in saying that, it facilitates the balancing of demand and supply. Obviously, we have with us Prasenjit, who will be talking a lot onto these areas. What I am trying to emphasize is we will keep the discussion for today very focused on three broad parameters. Why is inventory management skills very, very important? Inventory management risks leading to supply chain problems, and what would be the crucial elements of inventory management. To start off with, Prasenjit, let me come to you first.
Mhm.
You being areas and advising companies, okay?
Okay.
Why do you feel inventory management skills in supply chain is very, very critical? Why is it so? So as an expert in this field, how would you like to present it? Please.
Thank you, Sandeep. Good afternoon, Mr. Goyal. Good afternoon, Sandeep, and all those. Thank you for being with us and giving us the time. I will start off with this. We, in the current management practices, we always use a common adage. What it is? To attain or maximize your company's profitability, you have to have the right product, right time, right place, with the right price. Now, everything is concerned about this product. This product is our inventory. So, if the product is not correctly managed, what happens? As you have correctly pointed out, first, your profitability gets a hit. Second, your closing stock goes for a toss. Your inventory obsolescence or inventory spoilage accounts for a loss. Not only that, apart from that, your debtors or creditors also gets a hit. So all the items are linked to our balance sheet of a company, wherein for a particular period, for a mismanagement of inventory, you get to see the results at the end of a particular financial period, wherein all these things are adversely affected. Now, coming back what you said, why, how, what are the critical elements of inventory management?
Right.
So basically, the critical elements in today's supply chain is one, first and foremost, is your data-driven management. Inventory management is basically the objective of inventory management is bring a parity between your demand forecast and supply planning. What is happening in modern day, whenever a forecast is made, if the time horizon is greater, I mean, the forecast is bound to go haywire. So
Right.
the normal, whatever is forecast is with a shorter period, the efficacy increases.
Okay.
Now, once this efficacy increases, you have the product mix or the product things, what is for the market you have in your hand. And accordingly, you need to track. So what I said is inventory management basically today depends on three things. One is your data-driven management. One is inventory optimization, and another is the supply planning and the demand planning. These three are the main tools of your inventory management in modern day supply chain planning.
Okay.
So, sure.
So
Yeah,
yes, please. Yes, you are saying something, Prashanjit.
Yeah. These, as per these are some sort of maybe looking like more of theory or more of academics, but these are the things what we need to have imbibed in your mind before going into this should be an inventory manager's handbook before going into the practice. Now, from my experiences, what I have observed is that apart from these, what happens is that on the ground level, various challenges happen. I mean, there happens a mix match, as Mr. Goyal was also mentioning, mix match in demand and forecasting. I have seen people forecasting something, ABC, and ultimately sales people are billing for XYZ, resulting in complete loss of inventory. I mean, the inventory gets piled up. In handling, it gets damaged. In the target adds to the obsolete inventory. So one needs to have a very focused forecast system in a place. I will tell you, I will not take the name of the company. What I have seen is that this is a manufacturing industry I'm talking about, wherein components were supposed to arrive from 3 plants. Okay. Now, forecast was given for product ABC.
Right.
Components for this product ABC arrived from one plant at north, another plant at west, another plant at south. And these were supposed to be assembled at east. Now, the finished product needed say maybe at a scooter it needs a last of all a headlight. Now this headlight is supposed to come from a direct vendor.
Okay.
Now the forecast was given for scooter model A. Accordingly, the components for scooter model A has arrived. The light for these comes from the vendor. Vendor directly sends it. Now the order for scooter model B generates. What happens is that the entire inventory, my total capital gets blocked.
Right.
And the stock gets blocked also. So these I have seen. I mean, this is from the practical example what I have told. I have not mentioned the name. So there were a lot of inventory liquidation has happened. For these we were called. We have analyzed the demands and liquidated the inventory. This is a practical thing what I've told. Yeah.
So what I hear from you to start off with, you shared a small case where you're saying that inventory is coming from different locations, piles up, and simply in the pile up, liquidation has to be done to just get the cash out of it. Otherwise, it becomes a very typical thing for maintaining the bottom line of the organization. Staying with this early stage, let me come to Mr. Goyal. Mr. Goyal, like I'm sure inventory as an entrepreneur, you have been always must be concerned about whatever kind of inventory is there, because inventory is a cost, whichever way we take it. Okay. And at the same time, it is an important resource or an input for creating the final thing. And as you have been also consulting companies, coming to you, what would be your thoughts adding on to what Prashanjit shared? Why should we consider inventory as very, very critical?
Good afternoon, everyone. Now, inventory, you see, in the past, if we go 30, 40 years back, this was the domain or forte of the business person or the business owner, proprietor. They used to manage, like if you go to the chemist shop, thousands of medicines, they just remember with the name. So there is a like a system working in their mind, a computer is aligned and they remember what is there, what is not there. And if you have seen all the chemist shop, they keep a small notepad with them. Whatever new medicine is been asked, which they don't have, they just write in that. Anything which is finished, they write in that. So every business has its own type of system which is comfortable to them, and they are managing that way. Uh, uh, in such kind of retail network, a manufacturer sometimes absorbs the expiry material or the material which is expired because of no sales or maybe delayed sales. So different kind of systems are there in the process over a period of time, and it is all running. But now, as we have entered into a new era where the sales are not only limited to a local region or a surrounding area only, e-commerce like you are selling across, and the demand may be generated for a product from X region, you never knew about it, because once you are online, anybody and everybody can connect with you. A lot of companies who were into grocery market, who came up and who went online, they tried and experimented in a definitive region of 3-4 kilometers just to see that how inventory will be managed.
Absolutely.
And some of the concepts they experimented, and once they became successful, so they expanded slowly and steadily. But still, you see that a lot of companies could not survive, and the experiments failed at a different level. Very popular e-commerce stores, they also have lost a lot of money because of the bad inventory management. Now here, the inventory is not only about the finished product. For a manufacturer, like arrangement of capital, the raw material, and the production time, and probably the finished goods, and the credit inventory in credit. So 4 or 5 levels of inventory management is required at the manufacturer level. And once it is delivered to the customer or the retail shop, whether the product will be sold or not, the time of the season is over by the time product is delivered or not. So it is a complete science which was managed mentally before, and now we have a subject supply chain management, which is definitely is covered as a subject in most of the management degrees. But supply chain management, where you have the large stakes of the companies, they probably should prefer a supply chain management expert who can understand and create the entire data based on the latest technologies we have, like big data, AI, or machine learning, and you can connect your warehouse from vendor to warehouse, warehouse to your retail outlets. So it is something like, if you are not managing your inventory, you are actually losing the your main capital.
Very true.
Right.
Right.
So now, since we have been trying to focus to start off with the importance of inventory, let's do one thing. As we go forward, let's try to link the inventory technically to supply chain. Okay. Since we are focusing on inventory and the risk of an understanding of inventory management to supply chain, let's take inventory as one component. Okay. So what could be, Prasanjit, coming to you for everybody's understanding, how could inventory be or inventory management be a risk for supply chain? Okay. So they are connected. So how can inventory management become a risk for a supply chain? And if you can share an example or a case study, it will be wonderful. Okay, please.
Okay. So case studies are a lot many. I will share definitely.
I'm
sure. Going to a supply chain, if we see the supply chain right from procurement till the customer, the entire chain comprises of inventory only at various forms, be it a raw material, or be it a work in progress, or be it a finished goods. So every stage we need to manage competently so that inventory gets at the right quantity at the right time at right place. Now for these management, different companies have different methodologies. So normally we have that min max level, the critical item. These are the basic things to control your procurement and the finished product. Okay.
Right.
Now each process needs to be separately identified, and the challenge needs to be diagnosed, and accordingly needs to be set up that what should be the level, what is the critical item, and what are the challenges, what are the probable solutions. So we need to diagnose each component of the chain and accordingly fix up. So nothing is holistic. I mean, each component of the chain needs to be separately inspected, audited with data, and then only the malady can be diagnosed.
True.
Say so, I mean, inventory not only is a theoretical subject, or people need to have an hands-on exposure, you have to have a data-driven experience. Apart from that, the biggest thing is that we need to have some sort of common sense. Saying so, why I say, I'll share my experience. It's a very big organization, I mean, pan-India organization. They are into manufacture of FMCD products, consumer durables. Okay. Now, as is the current practice, various HR practices are done to encourage people.
Yes.
One such is you're driving your Kaizen, employee Kaizens. Okay. Right. During my stint, what I observed, there's a very peculiar thing I am sharing is, during one such Kaizen, it was given for cost reduction. Someone from the packaging department in the north did a cost reduction. How? The cartons were of a certain thickness, which normally they call it a ply, 4 ply, 7 ply, 8 ply, it's called. Now this gentleman, in his spree of reducing cost, what he did reduce the ply, and it was approved. The finance approved in a short, because it was shown as a huge cost savings. Accordingly, this Kaizen was also applauded all over, and this gentleman also got some cash prize. Now, what happened is that with the components, a particular amount of weight was contained in that carton.
Yes.
And each carton used to face repetitive handling of loading, unloading. Now, the loaders are not qualified enough to understand which way up and which way down. Normally, what is happening in the Indian context, what we see is taking over the shoulder and throwing.
Yes.
Very few organizations use BOPT handling trucks or mechanized receivers or mechanized dispatches. Normally, it's always manual. What happened in the process was that after a couple of months, while it reached the warehouses in the other states or to end customers, the ply boxes were thrown open because of repeatedly abusive handling. That was not deliberate, but the ply strength couldn't withstand that weight of the components. What happened was that the finished products could not get sold just because of the want of these components inside the ply, and customer complaints mounted like anything, saying that we have not received component A, we have not received component B. Well, the warehouse said that we have dispatched, but what happened was that inside the components were missing just because of the ply could not withstand the weight of the repeated handling, and everything was thrown stone.
I can understand.
So this is also a part of inventory which people, whoever is designing a ply, whoever is proposal for a reduction, whichever HR manager is approving a Kaizen, whichever finance manager is approving this cost saving, needs to take a holistic view. What is going to happen at the end point and how my sales is going to hamper?
So what I hear you saying with this example is an exciting example. So inventory now became a risk for the supply chain because the supply chain could not meet the end customer's requirement because of in-transit wastage or damage to packaging. And obviously, if it doesn't reach us on time, it may be a waste inventory. You never know. Has a huge cost.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. You wanted to add something, Prashanjit?
I can add from, most of my friends will be interested in hearing more such examples like that. This is a live example what I have shared. I will talk about another example of recently after post introduction of GST in 2017.
Okay.
GST was introduced with the objective of simplified tax structure. The objective was the trucks will move at a greater speed. The turnaround time will be more. There will not be accumulation of trucks at the checkpoints. So the objective was this. With that, we have this fast-track things also coming up.
Right.
Most of the tolls, fast-track things are happening. Now, what I observed, or what a complaint came from one of the companies, was that my transit times, my lead times have increased. Whatever was pre-GST era and post-GST era, my transit times have increased. So that means my inventory turnaround time has also gone for a toss.
Yes.
So earlier the transit was 3 days, now it has gone up to 4 to 5 days. Now we were also baffled. How could this be? The whole thing has been automized, whole thing has been mechanized, the toll gates have been mechanized, we have the FASTags, we have the RFIDs coming in, e-way bills are happening. Now digging deeper, what we found is that earlier e-way bill, earlier the way bill thing was being generated or prepared by the consignor. Now with this introduction of GST thing, there is a responsibility with the transporter also, wherein the transporter personnel needs to fill up the portion 3B of that way bill. Unless that is filled up, the truck won't move. Now there's an operational thing. The transporter do not have that much of capable person to fill in that thing.
Okay.
That is creating a log in the movement of the trucks. Further, on most of the toll gates, this RFID thing of the vehicle is also not matching. So though the intentions are great, but what is happening is that ultimately the movement is getting hampered and the transit time is increasing. So finally, what is being badly affected? The effect is coming onto the inventory.
Right.
The inventory is stuck in the pipeline. The transit has increased.
So what you are
please.
saying is, despite effort to systematically make a process for the inventory to move smoothly in the supply chain, the current system became a blockade, and hence it did a reverse, and hence inventory started piling up. Wonderful. Staying with this example, let me come over to Mr. Goel. Mr. Goel, we have been, as of now, talking about inventory management becoming a risk. And there are two examples shared by Prasenji, where inventory handling or associated with inventory packaging, in fact, has been affecting the entire supply chain and affecting the consumer as well as the transit time. And obviously, it leads to pile up of inventory. Now, as an individual who has been managing business, Mr. Goel, and as you have been advising a couple of clients in the production and manufacturing sector too, how do you see inventory as a risk, adding to what Prasanjit shared with us? Please, Mr. Goel.
You see, in this entire chain, one need to understand that the people who are managing the inventory, mostly, most of them are unskilled.
Right.
We talk about warehouse management. We have the labor, loader, unloaders. If we talk about transport management, then again we have drivers, the cleaners, or the transport companies, as Prasenjit shared. And then probably the people who are doing the billing and everything. So they are left aloof from the company's main stream. And the kind of knowledge which is flowing with the middle management or the top management, that never probably reaches to them. And they really don't look at them that the delay is happening at what level. So analysis of the data, what Prasenjit said, that it is something what every company must do. And sometimes, I mean, I have seen like if a manufacturer is into 3-4 products, and they are also making the raw material for those products. So what happens? They do not quantify the requirement of the raw material. And sometimes there is a order, they supply all the raw material to that side, and later on they feel that the other products are on hold. Orders are mismanaged. Whether small profit or big profit, if you keep your products on hold and the delivery is delayed, so
Yes.
you lose customers. The biggest fallback happens because of that communication is not there. That's why you see today a lot of supply chain management systems are in place, but sometimes because of the knowledge, sometimes because of the investment, sometimes because of the management behavior or understanding, those are not taken up.
Right.
So keeping this into mind, let me just mute. So the another thing is like you have a production line and you are producing material, and you don't optimize that the production chain completely.
Yes.
So few products are produced more, and the products which were required, those probably might be ignored because of a proper channel, proper communication, proper inventory management in place. So ultimately, it is the customer who is the pair, and if he is not serviced properly. Now, during the rainy season, take an example that because of rain, the truck transport gets delayed by 2-3 days, and if it is very critical for the operation, maybe let's say at the end of the customer, or maybe for raw material production. So the entire transportation or an entire product or entire inventory will be almost discarded.
Absolutely.
So it has to be seen as like the components which are involved, like your vendor, your manufacturing team, your warehousing team, your transportation team, the external environmental factors, which are like maybe like there is a strike on the road. Like in India, if we take an example, right now, Delhi, all around,
Yes.
the farmers have blocked the main highways.
Yes.
So there is an unexpected delay. Like COVID is another example where inventories were piled up and suddenly you had a lockdown. So, I mean, you have to have the external factor as well considered, that in case what COVID has given a new era of thoughts, that in case if nothing is working operational for next 15 days, 1 month, what will happen to my product? Some shelf life of some products is 3 days, 5 days, like in food products. I mean, the expiry shelf life is very less. So it has to be seen. It is not something like taking up a particular point and just working on that. It has to be from A to Z. You have to look at, and you have to really make it a point of your board meetings, where every week or every 15 days or a month's time you are reviewing things, and probably down the line, I think 6 months or 1 year, you'll have enough data to plug the loopholes.
Very true. See, rightly mentioned and placed at this point of time, Mr. Goel, at this stage where we have spent in the last 20 minutes talking about why inventory management skills are important and what kind of an inventory management risk it brings to the supply chain. With various examples and explanations shared by Mr. Goel and Rasanji, see, we came across a couple of things which are very, very critical. A lot of new things may be introduced as a policy, as a system, as a process, as the inventory moves throughout the supply chain. Drastic decisions like cost cutting, how it impacts when it touches upon packaging issues. Not properly synchronized supplies coming into the system. Or, for example, supply moving from one city to another city with transportation in process. So inventory, as it moves, it has many things to be taken into account. Now, today, when a customer has things on his or her fingertips of ordering, they won't wait. They won't give time, because it is at the press of a button. A customer wants it, whether a corporate customer, whether a domestic customer. Now, this brings us to a very focused area of inventory management. Now, what we'll do is in the remaining 10-15 minutes, we will try to focus on the elements of inventory management. Now, how do we optimize on the inventory management or the inventory as such, or warehousing? I was talking to Prasanji, like in storage is also of large warehouses and small warehouses with the e-commerce, right, Prasanji? And new structures are getting into place.
Can you please come
I'll
again?
come to you, Prasanji. Like if you can focus on this area, the inventory optimization and transportation. Maybe you can bring in warehouse if you want to at this stage too. Please.
Yeah, thank you. Before I delve into this, I would like to touch upon what Mr. Goel was telling.
Please.
The people, what we are discussing about the process, what we are discussing about the change, but very important thing is the people who are managing it. So earlier, what is happened is that, as Mr. Goel has rightly observed, people were not properly educated or trained to think or to coordinate. Now, in modern day supply chain, you can't have to have people in such places because its inventory is playing a crucial position. So if you look at the people aspect, people who are managing inventory has to have some certain earmarked competencies. Like he has to have a data-driven approach. He has to have interpersonal skills. He has to have clear communication skills. As Mr. Goel said, because this communication should be both way. He has to interact between production, he has to interact between sales, he has to interact between transport, he has to interact between finance. So a guy managing inventory has to have a very strong communication skills. Otherwise, he won't succeed.
Very important.
Absolutely, and interpersonal skills also, because he needs to know how to avoid a conflict. Because inventory is such a sensitive subject, there will be conflicts far often. So he has to have that skill to avoid conflict. He has to have that skill of conflict management as well also.
Very
So
important.
I think the people management, the people managing, once we have the right people in right place for managing inventory, half of your problems will be solved. With that, what I can say is that two or three things are needed in today's supply chain. One is reduce your manual intervention of handling inventory. Now you may say that reducing always comes at a cost. Obviously, I will agree, comes with a cost. But you need to trade off between your cost and your benefit. Your manual handling of inventory absolutely incurs a cost in your spoilage, damage, return, sales return. By installing a capital cost, you may have incur a one-time cost, but you will reduce the subsequent by introducing barcoding, by introducing your auto retrieval, by introducing tax. You will incur one-time cost, but will avoid the subsequent cost. So one is this thing is that one is every organization should aim to reduce the manual handling or intervention of inventory, go to automation as much as can. In for warehousing, they should use and adapt whatever technologies are coming in, whatever is suitable for that trade and whatever permits their budget. So feasibility study should be a continuous thing that should be done by a finance and tech team. So we should give a complete report of whatever is feasible for that organization for that particular point of time, and they should adopt the best tactics and best playing strategies. And third is that continuous upskilling of key people, education and upskilling of key people. And further is that with the advent of time, you should invest in your good data management system that would give you a real-time picture of your inventory. Over to you, Sandeep.
No, I think, Prasenjit, you pointed out very, very specifically and covered it very nicely.
Thank
So you are suggesting very clearly that it's a data-driven scenario. And when it's a data-driven scenario, I have to skill or have skilled manpower, very clear.
Very clear, sir.
And since there are multiple points of engagement, clear communication capability is now important, which is there. And also you are proposing that wherever I can use automation from barcoding to other things, which may be looking like a one-time cost, but it is worthwhile investing, which will help me in optimizing inventory and also managing my warehouse effectively.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that these are the things which a lot of your clients might be already doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? Yes, I do agree. Because the world has become data-driven. If I am synchronizing my supply chain with any e-commerce, and if I have highly unskilled people, they can't gear up with that. And I do agree with you because it's a kind of operation where conflicts are bound. And you brought in a very important topic, conflict management is a very strong skill capability and a communication capability, which is there. Staying with this, Mr. Goyal, I think we have area because me and Mr. Goyal, we do interact on technology specs a lot. Transition, we have been talking before these sessions also. So, Mr. Goyal, I'd like you to come in over here since you focus a lot of your time on technologies nowadays, which is there. E-commerce, Mr. Goyal, you have been focusing on it for quite some time, I know. So what Prasenjit shared was very, very important. I would like you to add on to this and say, share with us, how can this help in optimizing both the inventory opportunity and managing the warehouses? Please.
I'll just come up with an example of the Suez Canal incident which happened, and almost it stopped the supply of 3 continents for almost 2 to 3 weeks. Now, whatever kind of management you have, whatever technology you have in place, with that external environment probably will keep you shut if it is beyond your controls. So one part of it is that what is that order level, the reorder level, probably I'll say, inventory, the reorder level, managing that is also a very crucial aspect. So all the data, probably what we are talking about, AI, big data, or maybe machine learning. So there is something which is called like the experience in the business, and you have seen like multiple incidents over a period of time. So ultimately, you train the people the way Prasenjit said. Along with that, you have to have an industry person, probably who has seen decades and experienced multiple things. Probably it is what we call seen the unseen. Somebody who can visualize what may go wrong. So the another point which I can add is the reorder level, or maybe the safety stocks, that in case if something goes wrong, what kind of stocks we must have. That is one. Second, whether that safety stock is probably if something now COVID has
Yes.
added another era that you are not operational for 45 days, you never know. So the safety stock will be expired by the time the lockdown is open. So that also becomes a problem. So you see now
Right.
the times are changing, and you are globally connected. So today you have piled up a stock now in India. Like when we talk to importers, they say by the time our canter is dispatched from China, uh, people come to know that okay, this product at this price is going to reach in next 30 days, 40 days. Like in the case of COVID, it has happened. The mask or the other items which were being shipped, uh, the temperature thermometers, many devices people imported out of the way, and
True.
they bear a lot of losses because they did not see that how much time it will take to reach here, what kind of other suppliers may jump into it, maybe the local manufacturing may jump into it, the government may cap the price. You see, so it definitely mean everything has to be in place. But besides that, one thing which is going to work the most is the experience of the key people and how, what they have seen in the past. Now, today, if I start manufacturing something, I do not know what the industry, how the industry has reacted in past, and how industry is going to react in future. What new things are coming up or new things are building up. So
Right.
either you study and probably hire a big consultant, get a report created for your own usage. You buy a report probably which will be outdated by the time you buy it. 99% you'll have the past data. So you see, so uncertainty business is another name of uncertainty that will always be there. But yes, the safety stock, inventory management, the movement, all other things, maybe the usage of right kind of technology. Now we have a lot of supply chain management softwares. In addition to that, the another thing I would like to add, connecting the supply chain management team with the sales team. Generally, I see there is a gap between the inventory, the production team, and the sales team. They do not interact, and
True.
even if they interact through the middle management. And if there is again, I'll come to the same. The communication gap happens. So probably what is been required, may the production team may deliver something else. So transparency within the system is another key factor.
Very true. Very true. Uh, like we covered critical components of the inventory management and supply chain. I wanted to bring both of your attention to a very important factor. Like as you have been explaining, I will come to Prasenjit for this a bit. Inventory, automation, digitization, skilling are crucial area, no doubt, Prasenjit. One question which has been pertinently hitting, which is most of the time a part of the macro or sometimes out of control, and key to inventory is transportation, right? Which you shared an example. Any specific tips or suggestion, Prasenjit, on, because inventory to supply chain and there is always transport happening, large or small or big, which is happening. And as Mr. Goel pointed out about the pandemic and other things, the world stopped. Shipping, trains, flight, things. Obviously, we can't plan for all those things, but ensuring that we are having a standard normal procedure. How crucial is transportation management to inventory and hence supply chain? Prasanjit.
I will again illustrate it with a practical example what I have gone through. Now, this is related to transportation management. This is related to inventory management, but the crux of the matter is communication.
Okay.
Clear-cut communication and coordination.
Okay.
What the case study goes like this. This I'm talking about a chemical company. Okay. Now, the chemical company used to transport material from say Indore to Rayagada in Odisha. What happened is that there were jars of 50 kgs and jars of 40 kgs. Now, they used to go by particularly say ABC road lines.
Okay.
Okay. Achha. Now, ABC road lines used to take truckload 16 metric ton of material from Indore plant to Rayagada, say in 3 days with little or no damage. And this happened for a period. Now, a transportation manager or transportation head joined at the head office at Andheri, Mumbai. He all of a sudden wanted to show some cost savings as well as improvement in supply chain. Okay. What happened is that he showed that I will bring in XYZ road lines. Who's going to manage my this route at X minus something cost? Whatever was the prevalent rate, I'm going to manage it as X minus cost. Fair enough. This new transporter was awarded a contract and they moved in the 16 metric ton trucks. They started, the earlier transporter was removed from the system. After a couple of months, after around 2 or 3 months, what happened is that in Rayagada warehouse, there's a huge amount of accumulation of 50 kilo jars.
Okay.
Everybody was baffled why this was happening. This is coming through the same route. This is coming through a same truck. Even the company had specified the truck specifications also. The inside cabin should be of this much. This should be covered. The cabin length will be, the container length should be this. So much specifications were maintained. And the new transporter was brought in with these specifications also. Still, the transportation team failed. Failed in the sense, though the lead time was maintained, but there was a huge delivery of transit damage stocks leading to the hitting the bottom line of the company. Now, delving in deep, what it was observed, the earlier transporter gave a quotation of X rupees. That included placement of plyboard of certain thickness.
Okay.
Between the two levels of the containers.
Right.
And this plyboard was included in their quotation. This plyboard was also specified by the product development team and the tech team, who in their bill of materials categorically stated that when 50-liter jars has to be transported from this place to that place, a plyboard of this amount of thickness should be placed between these two containers.
Right.
What happened with this new transporter? In their effort to give a less cost, they removed this plyboard.
Right.
And this cost was brought down. Nobody noticed. The transport head who came into the organization was totally oblivious of this factor. Now, I raise this thing because this is the success or failure of transportation management related to inventory management. But the bottom line is that people should coordinate and communicate to know what is the objective and what are the basic thread lines of the trade.
So with this example, what you are pointing out is, it is not just a transportation. Transportation is happening of an important machinery, chemical, goods, items, it has to reach. So using communication, the persons involved in transport management should be aware from not only chemical and analytical, they have to understand what they are transporting.
Absolutely.
And they should be technically aware and competent to appreciate, measure. Otherwise, a small fraction of a cost must have added to a huge loss of business opportunity also for the client. Excellent. Mr. Goyal, at this stage, would you like to point out something?
You see, today if we look at the courier companies or the delivery management companies, logistic companies, when they have placed such high-tech the softwares, when the customer can track their product, their material, where it has reached and in what status it is, whether it is delivered to some person, even the name of the person is mentioned in their software who has received the material. Now, despite that, the way product is delivered, I had very couple of bad experiences in with airlines when I was traveling in to US. The handling of the baggage was so bad, so rough. Despite that, they have replaced the baggage, but still it was broken. Same way it happened in India.
I see.
Any material which is sticked with the sticker, handled with care, or the material defined as to be secured, you found it delivered broken. So you see, ultimately, in the entire chain and the entire chain handling of the materials is left onto the people who are least bothered about what is the cost of this mismanagement.
Okay.
And they are not into the system of loss or profit. So
Okay.
they handle it the way fits to them.
Okay.
Very true.
In this entire process, I think the biggest part is that I generally when we finalize this topic, I try to find out the the inventory management checklist, inventory management like the supervisory roles and other things. The kind of documents we have on other areas, it was very hard to find documents on inventory side of it. Like, is there any checklist for a driver? Is there any checklist for the loader, unloader? Is there any checklist for the person who is managing the warehouse? Some companies with the large objectives might be having, and they might be doing a continual training. But I don't see, I could not see much where the systems are so where everybody inducted in the team has gone through a training process of 10 to 15 days, 20 days. Now, it is something like one person has gone on leave, somebody else has been put up without any proper induction, and he has come from a different background, and definitely that one person probably is going to spoil the entire inventory flow. So the process and the people, I think the two things are the key things where the company key management should focus on, that anybody who's going into a system should be adequately trained before he's given the task. And you should have you have the buffer inventory. Same way on the key profiles, you must have some buffer people as well. Not only the inventory, but the safe stock of people also should be maintained so that it can be replaced in case of some crisis.
See, we had a very intricate and I think a very engaging discussion today on inventory. And I'm sure for entrepreneurs and people who are into manufacturing, transportation, FMCG, retail, a message which is coming out very clear is inventory is crucial, and it is not as simple as just some unskilled labor loading it, unloading it, and taking it or not taking it and taking it up. With very minute examples and very small cases, Mr. Goyal and Prasenjit, you share how crucial it could be for an organization. So focus area has been one, people are important. Two, not only people, skilled and upskilling of people consistently has become sacrosanct today. It is important.
Absolutely.
Data-driven has become very, very critical. Mr. Goyal, as you pointed out, systemic processes and communications are again crucial into this entire space. And today, as the world is becoming a complete e-commerce driven and a very hard competition is been fought, I'm very sure everyone will understand that inventory and reaching on time and optimization of all costs are very crucial to maintain the bottom line of any company. Great. If there is any query from anybody, you can put it on the chat if there is, or you can unmute and speak out. On chat, we don't have any queries as such. Fine, great. I think with that, we can conclude today's session. Thank you very much. Thanks, Prashanji, for joining us
Thank you.
over here.
My
And
pleasure.
as we discussed, we are sure we'll take this a long way because logistics is very, very important and is going to become very crucial
Absolutely.
For every and any industry
Very true.
which is into it.
Very true.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Goel, once again. Thanks everybody for joining in. Bye. And we'll connect up again next week. Thank you.